You are tuning in to John, Pierre, and Mary's fun-loving, crazy, and honest podcast.
If it don't smell bad, it must be clean.
Unequally Yoked, where any and every topic, life,
Marriage.
I'll go first because I have something to say.
Uh-oh.
kids, and entrepreneurship are up for discussion.
How does Mary, a pastor's daughter,
And John, a guy who rarely saw the inside of a church growing up, get together
No.
and stay together.
We all have roles.
what does life look like 10 plus years into marriage?
2 kids and trying to run a family business.
How do we keep this nest egg from cracking?
What you mean?
Listen in to Unequally Yoked as we dive in to give a man
Next. And woman's perspective
Somebody back me up on
Nobody.
to all the topics married folks are talking about.
this. Are you ready?
Let's do this, boo.
Welcome back, y'all. This is the second episode of Unequally Yoked with John, Pierre, and Mary. And in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about defining roles in marriage, partnership, and in business.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I'm excited about that one.
Are you now?
Yeah, if you guys like what you hear and, have any ideas for us for any future podcasts, definitely hit us up on our social media, both our Instagram and our Twitter. I'm at Mary TJP.
And I am at John Pierre TJP. That John is without an H, Jon.
That's important. You are the John without an H.
I am the John without an H.
But we really appreciate the feedback. Like I said before, we actually received a lot of great feedback from just our first episode.
Yes,
And,
we did, which is cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. Everybody wants to know, really who we are from the beginning, like how we met. And of course, we'll definitely go back and give you guys little snippets of that. But today, like John said, we want to talk about just like defining those roles and how do you go about even doing that? And we kind of dove into, what we did on the last episode, just talking about the premarital counseling and the tools that we learned there. And honestly, it was the same thing, right? Like we learned, I think we kind of went naturally into our roles, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but I think as time has gone on, we've definitely, our roles have changed, and there's definitely been times where we had to go the unnatural route and really sit down and say, okay, John, this is what you're gonna do. Okay, Mary, this is what you're gonna do, and even then we've had to go back and readjust. Be like, okay, hey, that didn't really work out. We need to try something different.
But first, before we get into that, last week we had homework at the end of the episode, and at the end of each episode we will have homework. And I know I kind of put like a doomsday. I even told you to make like a doomsday
you don't like
music.
my sound effects for it.
Yeah,
last time.
no, that one wasn't good. But we don't want homework to sound like a bad thing. But again, it's something that we learned in counseling that it's just something that everybody kind of perks up about. Like, okay, homework, you have to kind of stick to it. If you know that you have homework to do, even though it feels like, I have homework and dread
Yeah,
it.
I think we probably just need to figure out a new name for the homework. Maybe
No,
homework
because we
is
get homework from our counselor. She gives us homework. So I think homework is good. It makes you feel like you have to do it. And once you do the work, it's great. It's good. No?
Well, there we go.
Well, okay. Well, I guess you guys can let us know if you like a better term than
Right.
homework.
Right.
An assignment.
An assignment.
An
How about that?
assignment. Okay. Well, in last week's assignment, we asked you guys to remember your why.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yes,
Did you
I do
do
remember.
your homework, your assignment, honey?
I did my best to do my homework.
Wow.
Did you do your homework?
I sure did. Because you know why?
Uh-oh.
Because I came up with the question. I already knew my why was. So
Well,
I will
that
ask
seems
you.
unfair.
Is it unfair?
Seems quite unfair for the teacher
No,
to know
because
the homework.
well, the teacher should know what the homework is, right?
Yeah, but you also know the answer too.
I know the answer because I'm following my own steps. Hello. I am saying,
Bam, 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 bam.
okay, there's the first DJ horn of the episode, which means you take a shot.
Probably means
Whatever.
nothing. But
It's a drinking game at this point. That's going forward. We're just going to make the DJ horn some sort of drinking horn or whatever you are drinking at the time, especially if it's water. Go ahead and chug that water.
I could definitely use some water right now, actually.
Yeah. I mean, again, just remembering your why, the reason why I have my answer is because I literally have to press reset, I think, a couple times a day, especially last week being how crazy my week was last week. I had to definitely close my eyes a couple times and be like, Lord, let me remember my why.
Let me remember.
So what's your why, honey?
Well, my why, there's a couple whys for a couple of different things. My why for living in general is to be happy, just to be overall happy. Just, it's not about pursuing money. It's not about pursuing prestige or anything like that. I think it's just about trying to pursue a life that whenever you wake up in the morning, you're excited to get to. Whenever you go to bed at night, you're exhausted from doing, but in a good way.
Yeah.
You don't ever really dread doing what it is you're doing. I think that's definitely probably my biggest why is I'm always just going to be trying to pursue things that actually make me happy.
Yeah.
And then deal with the consequences of it not making enough money or making a whole bunch of money. Either way, I want to know that what I'm doing is actually making me happy. That's number one.
That's beautiful.
When it comes to my why for my wife, someone should make a rap song called "My Why for My Wife." I think that's a pretty good name. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know if should be a rap song. Maybe
we get Toby and Unequally to do something like that. Why for my wife? That seems like something he would do.
Who?
Toby and Unequally? Come on, man.
Who is that?
SWAT. Come on, man. All my Toby fans.
Is that the guy from The Masked Singer? The
no,
thingamajig?
No. Remember I told you, what in the world? What are you talking about?
But why would a love song be okay, there you
Anyways.
go. This is what John does. John gets me off subject. And this is again, I'm pressing my reset button and remember
already.
Yeah. I told you I pressed my reset button a couple times. Okay.
You got to figure that out.
No, I don't.
Yes.
It works for me. My why, and again, because I'm a mom. So my why are my children and just creating a life for them in now and in the future. So
really?
I do. I
always have a question about it's interesting to hear you say that.
Well, that's what it is now. And when they get older, then it'll be different. My why changes. But right now,
okay.
I am working my tail off so that I can just create, a better life for them. And it has something to do with things. It's more about experiences and the experiences that I would like for them to have that I didn't have. So I work for them. I do. Right now, he had his lip poked out. You know what?
No, it's good. I'm with it. But you
don't question my why.
You didn't. You already answered my question when you said your whys change, and that's a big deal.
They do.
Yeah, that matters a lot. So
sometimes it could be, for my own self. I don't know what's that word. You're good at the big words.
Self-fulfillment.
Sure. I would like to. I like have goals. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I have goals, but right now, my why, is for my kids and just wanting us to, all of us, my family, just wanting us to have, really great experiences and make great memories. And, I'm all about that. I'm all about the memories.
You're definitely about the memories.
Yeah.
Which I respect.
I appreciate that. I mean, so going back to, what someone asked us on social media, just wanting to know how we met. And I think that is where, not where we met, but just getting past that, kind of how we naturally progress into our roles.
You mean talking about how we met in the club, and then what did that lead to? What?
No, I just want to talk about people. Someone asked me on social media, how did you and I meet? And
in the club.
We met in the club.
Turning up.
Okay.
Is that not the truth?
It is.
Okay. Well, I mean,
oh my gosh.
That's what we met in the club.
We met in the club.
Yeah.
We could fast forward past that.
Oh, we can. Oh, okay.
Oh, what do you want to talk about?
No, I don't want to talk about it.
We're not talking about the black cat suit.
No, we're not talking about the black cat suit. But I'm just saying we did meet in the club. We were both slightly inebriated. It was your birthday.
Wow.
And we had the best introduction of all time. My best friend, Kim, introduced Mary to me as John. This is Mary. Mary, this is John. All right, I'm out.
And then my best friend, Tanara, actually helped out by
by distracting the date.
Yeah, by distracting the date that I was actually there with. Okay. Shout out to Tanara because she said she don't get her credit. Please give this girl some credit. Can we get a DJ horn for Tanara? Thank you. And that's done forever. So yeah, I mean, it was a really great night. We danced the night away, and I don't know at what point we exchanged numbers, but we did. And I remember getting a text message from him saying that he would never forget me, because I just assumed, because like you said, we were, slightly inebriated, that
I like how I put the word slightly in front of that.
well, that was my Patron day, so I'm pretty certain. I can't even believe that I remember it to this day. I mean, I remember being in that back seat when Edie was driving me home.
Oh, I thought I was like, what, back seat? What are you talking about?
No. It
like,
didn't go down like that.
Like, what are you talking about?
No, sir.
No.
I just met you. I didn't know you like that.
I didn't know what you were talking about. I was like, wait, what happened?
Okay. I was thinking about the text message that I received from you saying that you would never forget me.
I would never forget you.
Even though you took 2 weeks to hit me up and even longer for us to set up some sort of date.
Uh-oh.
Do you remember what you cooked for me the night that I went to your house?
Spaghetti.
Yep.
And it was good too.
I saw him putting ketchup and honey in his spaghetti, and I was like, nah, this dude, wow, he's wilding out over here.
If you don't know about ketchup and honey in your spaghetti, then you don't make good spaghetti, just for the record.
It was delicious, but it still was a strange for me at that time. Do you remember what movie we watched?
No, I don't. What was it?
13th Warrior.
That was not. No, it was. Oh, yes, on that same night.
On that same night.
Okay.
Yeah, we watched 13th Warrior.
Okay, that's
Antonio
true.
Banderas.
That's right, Antonio Banderas. Yeah, that's a great movie. 13th Warrior goes hard.
I doubt anyone was like, ooh,
13th Warrior is legit.
No, it's not.
If you don't know about that movie, you need to go look it up. Antonio Banderas. He's a Muslim dude.
Oh my God. Nobody
in a
wants
Scandinavian
to know about
Viking world.
Jesus
it's pretty cool.
Lord.
Anyways.
Well, yeah, that was our first interaction, and our first official date was at Papacito's. Okay.
That she paid for.
I sure did.
She sure did.
Because I was like, I'm going to show him I have some funds. When really, in all actuality, I kind of didn't.
We were both broke.
We'll talk about that in another time, but definitely was showing out and didn't have no fun.
Trying to impress people.
Yeah, that's what happens.
That's how you
do we dated for like 2 years.
Yep.
And then, you asked me to marry you.
Mm-hmm.
I said yes. And at that time you lived and moved into your parents' home that you had grew up in.
Right.
So, again, we're about to dive into the roles. And this is why I brought it up, because it's almost like it went into like a natural, like we naturally went into our roles, is what I'm saying.
Right.
So because you already lived in a house,
mm-hmm.
when we got engaged, I literally moved in the next day after you asked me to marry you.
That is correct.
Because I had planned on moving into my own place, but you had plans of your own.
I had my other plans.
Right. Which was me shacking. So how do you think me moving into your house helped us create those roles?
Oh, I don't know if it necessarily helped or hurt, but what it definitely did was give us a better idea of who we were. I think it's probably one of, at least for us, it was definitely a good experience to live with one another prior to getting married, because it definitely helped us see how the other lives.
So are you saying, you're one of those people who think that people should get, when we use the term shack up?
Shack.
Do you think they should?
I am not here to promote or condone or say it's not right. Listen, you got to do whatever you think is right. I know that for us, it was the right thing. At least for me, it was the right thing to do. I needed to know what you were like when you wake up in the morning, how you live, how you eat.
Wait a minute. So you're saying that you asked me, after you asked me, wait a minute, because I ain't never heard this before.
Oh.
So when you asked me to marry you and you asked me to move into your house,
right.
Which, by the way, you were asking me to move into your house before we got married.
Right.
Okay?
I was, yeah.
You were doing that so that you could see how I live. So are you saying that if you didn't like how I lived, we wouldn't have gotten married?
Oh, heck yeah.
Wow.
But of course,
Okay.
you can't live. Yeah. If you can't live with the person.
Shouldn't you tell that person that beforehand? Like, hey, this is a I don't know, is it a tryout?
Yeah, no, you don't tell anybody that
Is
because
it
it's
like
not
a
you're not trying to put any ultimatums on it. It's like if you don't live right, we ain't gonna get married. No, that don't make any sense. You don't do that. You just, if you find the person is worth making that next step. For me, it was you, and now it's about, okay, let's see how you live. And what we came to realize is that for the most part, we live pretty good together. You know what I mean? I thought it was a good introduction into who we are as individuals. Whenever the makeup is not on and the cologne isn't on, and I don't have a chance to. Well, actually, I really didn't try that hard to like make my beard and stuff look. I didn't really do all that.
well,
But
everybody knows you like a hobo. Pretty much 85%
pretty
of
much
the
all
time.
the time. So but whatever.
So it's
like
interesting that you say that, because if that was the case, if your rules of which you're just now telling me umpteen years later,
right,
that this was some sort of test. If I thought that way, John,
what would happen?
we wouldn't be here today.
Oh,
Because living with you, okay, here's the DJ horn. Living with you in the beginning was not very easy. Coming from, me living by myself, my house is clean all the time. I probably had like a mayonnaise jar in my refrigerator and I don't know, some old mustard and I don't know, just baloney. But still, it was clean.
Yes.
And I lived in that place for 3 years and still got my deposit back.
That's how clean your place was.
That's how clean my
and
place
to this
was.
day, you are still a much cleaner person than I am.
Well, that's something we don't have to tell people. I'm pretty certain they already know that.
I'm pretty sure they knew that too.
Yeah. But, my whole point of bringing that up is because, in our last episode, we talked about the premarital counseling.
Yes.
And even when we just talked about how we didn't have any money when we went on that first date, even though I paid for it, it was in our premarital counseling that I really learned what marriage was really about, like what we're supposed to do. So they gave us homework. I don't know if you remember this.
Okay.
Where it was the finances, the financial part of it.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yep. I remember
and they asked us to go home and lay out our finances and say, okay, who's going to pay for this? What accounts you're going to have? Do you have an account together? Do you put all your money together?
In one bucket?
Yeah, because that's what I thought. I'm like, oh, yeah, when you get married, was mine, is
and I was like,
yours. And
yeah. And what was I saying?
I don't remember.
I was like, no, we're not doing that. But I was like, but we do need to have a joint account, and then we have our own separate accounts, because at that time, we weren't married yet, but we both came into it with our own set of debts. We came into it with our own set of bills, and so we just decided. Oh, I don't know if we decided at that moment, but my opinion was, we're together, but I still am responsible for taking care of my debts, and you are still responsible for taking care of the debts that you have incurred prior to us living together.
Right.
And then anything that we do together, we pay for together. Right?
Yeah, that's what we ultimately decided on. But I would just say, full disclosure for myself, that was really tough for me to share something so personal. Money to me, and talking about money with someone, even though I loved you. I don't want to say ED.
She loved you. Hold that ED on there. She loved me.
But it was tough because I'd been on my own for so long, and I thought I was doing really well, And when I say really well, that meant, I had gas in my car, my bills were paid on time, and I would give myself a payday meal every now and then.
And you weren't starving.
I wasn't starving. I was having a good time, shopping at Charlotte Russe. So stupid, because you don't know what that is.
Zero idea what that is.
It's thought wear. Believe me, it was a lot of thought wear going on at that time. But it wasn't until I sat down with you and we talked about that, and even talked about what our debt was coming into this marriage.
Yeah. It's very uncomfortable.
I was embarrassed.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable for everybody, I mean, and even to this day, it's like anytime we talk about finances, it's always like this. There's just this sense of uneasiness talking about it sometimes. And so I think it's pretty natural, especially when you're first getting into a relationship, when you get to that financing part of a discussion, figuring out who's going to pay for what and how you guys are going to divvy up money and all that kind of stuff. That's a big deal, and that there's a certain amount of just natural intimacy that occurs there whenever you're allowing yourself to be so vulnerable as to give someone your financial information and talk about your whatever it is. It's a big deal.
But it was tough, but I also think it was necessary, because what ended up happening was we created a really great plan. Because for me, I was bringing in student loan debt.
Yeah.
I didn't have any credit. I thought, I paid my bills on time, so that's great. But no, I hadn't established any credit whatsoever.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And, you really took the lead on being like our money guy,
mm-hmm.
right? Like the person who handles like all of our finances.
Right.
And it had nothing to do with you being like, the man or the head of the household. It was you, hey, you know what, Mary, I already have all these things in my name at this house. Like, all the bills were in your name at that time.
Right. Because
other than our personal bills.
Yeah, absolutely. Huh?
So we decided at that time to, whatever personal bills you have, whether it's my car insurance or car note or what have you, I take care of that, and you take care of your personal things.
Right.
And then we have a household account, mutual account.
Where we do like electricity and stuff.
But what I love what you did is we put it in by percentages based on what we made.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then here's the thing I thought that seemed to be fair. Like, we just basically put our money together and said, okay.
Well, I can tell you the percentage was like a 60-40,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it ended up being like 60-40. And so that made it easy to, if I made a larger sum, then I contributed more to the mutual bills and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how we split it up. And it worked for a long time. And then, of course, as time went on, things changed, right?
Yeah.
So we went.
But even now in our business,
mm-hmm.
you're still our finance guy. You're still our money guy. You're still our create the budget guy, because you're really good at numbers and I'm not.
Right.
Right. And again, I have people ask me that all the time, like, who's in control of what? And I hate to use the word control, but it really is like, whose role is what?
Right. Yeah. But I think there's also, especially over time, and if we're being honest, like the whole roles thing is a big deal, but the word control becomes a big deal also. Like having roles leads to the other person thinking someone is more in control of a situation than they are, or, someone's taking the lead on something that the other person wishes that they had more input on. And so if it's money, or if it's, what's going to happen with the kids, or whether it's what we're going to do for a date night, like there's definitely a need to balance the idea of roles with the possibility of resentment, or the possibility of making the other person feel inferior or not as contributory, if that's a word.
Here we go.
I like to make up words. I like to make up these words, but just making the other person feel like they're not contributing to that portion of whatever the role is. So, and we find that, for us, that happens a lot. It's like, if I'm the person who's supposed to be responsible for money and everything, then when it comes to how we spend money, then a lot of times we get into disagreements. Then a lot of times we get into disagreements about like, am I in control of the money, or am I just trying to look out for what I think is the best interest of our money in general? And so I think it's definitely important, as you talk about roles, to always revisit roles and
because
make sure
they're constantly changing.
Yeah, they're constantly changing. And not only are the roles constantly changing, but the way that people feel about the roles constantly changes depending on what's going on. So I think it's a really big deal when we're talking about roles, to always stay in constant communication about what the roles are and how the people feel about the roles, because it's not only important to make sure everyone has a role, but it's also it's very important to make sure that the people feel good about the role that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And the other thing about that is valuing what that other person brings to the table, right?
Right.
And what their role. Like, I haven't had to pay bills
in forever, right?
In forever. And I know that that's something that you've come back and said to me, like, hey, like, can you do this month? And I'm just like, hey man, I don't even know where to start. So how about how about a no? But but just saying, having a conversation and just letting you know that I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
That I appreciate that you take on that role.
Mm-hmm.
That you naturally fell into, all that time ago because of the assignment that we had. And, from there, we have then said, okay, here's what we've actually written down on a dry erase board and it's color coordinated, like what our roles are, like understanding what it is that we both bring to our household,
Yeah.
to our business. And I think that really has helped us move forward in knowing what each person is doing.
Yeah.
And knowing that is taken care of is just, I don't know, for me, it's a huge relief.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a huge relief. And I think that it's important. Again, it's good that we have that, but it's also very important. What helps us keep that at the forefront is when we make sure that we're always revisiting those roles, always revisiting what it is to be in those roles. And the one thing we haven't talked about, which we probably should touch on real quick, is just how the roles became what they are for our business, right? So like, how did Mary become the design expert and how did John become the construction person? It seems like it would be natural for it to be a man and a woman thing, but there's plenty of women out there who run construction companies and there's plenty of men out there who design stuff. So how do we come across? How did that develop? I'll ask you, how did that develop?
I love this is our Q&A part. I mean, again, I think that we naturally fell into that. You've always been a very handy person. I make fun of you because you've never been to a barbershop. You just started going to the cleaners and you used to do your own oil changes.
Oh yeah, all that.
I mean, but I'm just saying, like, you are a handy guy. You're self-made. You're the type of person, you're like, you know what? I'm going to figure it out. And, with a hammer and some pliers and all the tools at the Home Depot and any other place, like you literally, you're like, I'm going to figure it out.
I do have a lot of tools.
When it came to the construction side, you just fell into that because literally I have no desire to do that.
Right.
And I really do feel like it starts with desire.
Right.
Like even learning how to cook or even design, whatever it is that you want to do, I think it starts with desire.
Right.
And you can figure it out from there.
Yeah. But one of the things that we definitely came across was as we got into the houses and picking out things and picking out designs and stuff like that at the beginning, I always wanted to have my input in on what like we picked and everything like that. Right. And over time, it just became apparent that I had no idea what I was talking about. And you had to deal with the frustration of dealing with someone who didn't know what they were talking about. Right.
I don't think you didn't know what you were talking about. I just think that, and I'm just being kind.
That's what I think you're doing right now.
DJ Horn. For my kindness, go ahead and take that drink.
That was a weak DJ Horn, by the way.
Okay. Well, I just think that overall, we had to understand and respect what each other's roles were and not step on the other person's toes. So it's like you can't have control over everything. And that's, we talked about the control earlier and just saying, okay, Mary, you know what? You're actually better at this. And not saying that I had to get permission from you or anything. It was really you having to reconcile with yourself that, you know what, Mary is actually better at this than me. So let me let go. Let me let go
and let me realize that she can do what she can do. But I just think it's very important that people know that that didn't come without stepping on each other's toes. Right. We stepped on each other's toes. We got in each other's way. We fussed and all that kind of stuff about trying to figure out what the roles would be. And it just became apparent over time that one of us is better at one thing and one of us is better at the other thing.
Yeah.
And that's
I'm not good at money. I'm not good at math. I took that financial math, that remedial math in college, all that. And I just, so I am happy for you that you are good at that math and you have taken that. I'm good at all the pretty stuff.
You are.
I have taken that. You have a vision as well for construction, and you have taken, ownership of being the realtor and finding the properties. And I love where our roles are now. And I'm not saying it will be that way forever, but for right now, I think that we are in the right place.
I agree.
So how do we help other people not step on each other's toes?
I honestly don't think you can. I think it's really hard. It's like dancing, right? Like if we're gonna be dance partners,
Well, somebody's the lead though.
somebody's got to take the lead.
Okay.
But even if someone takes the lead, the other person's still like
You're still going the same direction.
You're going the same direction, but you're still gonna be stepping on each other's toes until you figure it out. Like you still got to be in the dance. You still got to do what you do, but just know that you're gonna hit each other. Like it's not gonna go cleanly at the beginning, but you got to stay committed to the dance. You got to stay committed to whatever it is you're doing, and knowing that with the common goal of trying to create. I'm using the same metaphor of a dance. Whenever you're trying to create the dance, you have to know that there's going to be bumps and bruises. You're going to hit each other. You're going to fall down. You're going to stumble over one another. But at some point, you will get it together. And so I just think it's important. You'll be in
sync.
Yeah, you'll be in sync eventually. But you can't get there without stepping on each other's toes. You got to do it.
I love that metaphor. That's actually one of the better ones that you've ever had, because sometimes you go real left. DJ Horn. And that will put us right into our homework. And our homework this week, we ask you guys to challenge yourselves and step into a role that you typically wouldn't do.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's that math for me. Ooh, Lord.
No, Lord, we're gonna be in trouble.
We have to find something else. But I want to. I'm taking the challenge. I am taking the challenge. Do you already know what your role will be?
I have no idea.
Okay, we'll have to really. This is gonna be some tough homework this week.
Yeah.
But that's what our homework is for you guys. Is to step outside of your, what are you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say, so but to what end? What is why are we having people step into a role that they wouldn't typically do? What is the goal? What do we want them to learn?
I don't know, John. What do we want them to learn?
I don't know. I would say that I think it's really important that whenever you step into someone else's shoes, not only do you try your best to do that job, but I think it's really important to because best believe that person that you're stepping into, the role that you're stepping into, they're gonna be looking like, I bet you can't do it the way I do it. I bet it's not gonna be as good as me, right? I think that's part of the natural thing that happens. So I think it's really important that whenever you step into someone else's role, that you especially when you're talking about your significant other, that you make sure and appreciate what that role is.
And that's what I was going to say. For me, it's if I'm stepping into a role that you typically would take care of, I'm going into it as, I just want to see what his life is like. I want to see what that feels like. And hey, if I like it, maybe I can help you out.
Yes.
Yeah. But it does start with just, I appreciate you. I appreciate what you do. I value what you bring to the table, to our household, to our business. But I'm hoping that, when I challenge myself to step into one of your roles this week, that I learn a little bit more about myself and what I'm actually capable of. How about that?
I like it.
All right. Well, we thank you guys so much for tuning in to Unequally Yoked, episode 2. Once again, if you guys want to give us any suggestions on future podcasts or want to give us any feedback on how we can even make our podcast better, hit us up on both our Instagram and Twitter, Mary TJP
and John Pierre TJP.
All right. We will see you guys next week, where we will discuss our journey and the pursuit of our passions. That's going to be a good one. That'll be a good one. Going from figuring out what your why is to what your role is to now using those two things to figure out what your passion is. Love that.
I like it.
We see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.